right, good evening, everybody, and happy Tuesday night. We are live and talking about what to expect for this evening and the next couple of days as well. We have a roller coaster of weather expected here in San Antonio, across the state. And if you're watching from our southern counties like George West, Beeville, Live Oak County, B County, even towards Corpus Christi, we're expecting a lot of rain over the next 72 hours. And it starts tonight for some communities. If you're watching from Pearsall, maybe near Cotulla, Carrizo Springs, there are a couple of isolated storms out there, and some of them will start to drift towards San Antonio by about 9, 10, and 11 p.m. tonight. So we're going to watch that very closely, show you radar, and again, what to expect in the next several hours and next several days. Our today's numbers, 87, morning lows at 71, and both those numbers are way above the April normal. You can see average is around 60 to about 78 for the average high and about 60 to 56 for the average morning low. No rain this morning or today. The clouds looked gray at times and even like rainmakers, but unfortunately no rain from earlier today, but a better chance at rain tonight. And we'll show you radar in just a bit. But first, temperature right now at 84, 87 at Uvalde, 97 at Eagle Pass, and even 92 at Cotulla. It's very hot, very humid out there, which is again setting up the stage for a few showers out there this evening. Heat index, it's crazy how we're talking about this in April, but you know, with a lot of humidity in place, it's factoring into the feels like temperature. So you can still feel like 95 at Cotulla, it still feels like 95 at Pearsall. So San Antonio is included and has been for the last several hours in a very low chance at some storms tonight. It's a very low end chance. It's a 1 out of 5. The higher coverage of storms tonight will be to the northeast towards Dallas, Waco, Arkansas, which is the last place that needs it, right, after all the storms this past weekend. They're underneath a 4 out of 5 risk. We're underneath a level 1 out of 5, meaning coverage will be mostly isolated to spotty as rain starts to develop later on tonight. Now, we do have a few storms out there, mostly near Eagle Pass towards the Rio Grande. As a matter of fact, we have a severe warning towards Dimmitt County and Frio County. So if you're watching from Pearsall, Dilley, anywhere along the I-35 corridor towards Dimmitt County and Frio County, that's where the rain is at right now, and likely will be there for the next 30 minutes or so. We'll have to time out the storm motion and storm speed, but these storms developed out west near the Rio Grande. Now they're starting to push farther east towards Cotulla, Dilley, and more importantly, Pearsall. So if you're in Crystal City, La Pryor, you probably got in some rain around 7:30 tonight, but now that particular cell, these clusters of showers are moving towards Pearsall, probably about, let's say, 8:30 to 9 o'clock tonight. That's, southwest of Bexar County, west of Atascosa County. And you can even see with this lightning tracker embedded into the graphic, it's producing a lot of lightning, right? It's a very electrical storm along Highway 57, south of Uvalde and north of Asherton, pretty much near Texas 85 and west of I-35. So heads up for Pearsall and western portions of Dimmitt County. That's where a lot of the rain is going to move into probably by about 8:30, 9 p.m. tonight. And notice how isolated it is, right? It's not everywhere. As a matter of fact, in Uvalde, you're probably going to be dry tonight. You're not going to see much until tomorrow morning where a front moves in and that'll create more scattered showers. But here is that severe warning. So this was issued by the Weather Service. This is just outside of Crystal City, north of Big Wells, and moving in the direction of Pearsall. So if you're watching from Pearsall, likely some rain moving towards you by about 9 p.m. Let's time this out. So it's 8:14 now. Where was this storm at 7:14 p.m.? Right, so I have to time it out 1 hour, last hour, perfect. So it was just outside of Carrizo Springs. So west of there, and now it's towards the eastern part of that county. So let's do the ruler. Let's see how much distance that is. So it traveled about 25 miles in that hour. So this particular storm is moving around 20 to 25 miles an hour towards the east and northeast, which would put it somewhere near San Antonio if it maintained its track, its motion, and its direction. If it's moving at, so it's probably about 60 miles away from southern San Antonio. So if it maintained that speed of 24 to 25 miles an hour, it would reach southern San Antonio, southern Bexar County, likely around 10:15 maybe about 10:30. So that's why we're watching this one cell. Despite it being isolated, you know, it's not everywhere. I mean, you can see Cotulla's dry, Fowlerton is dry, Dilley's probably going to miss out on this action. And Eagle Pass saw some of it towards the southern part of Maverick County from earlier this evening, but now it's starting to really propagate farther east and northeast. And if it were to make it towards San Antonio, it'd likely be around the 10:30 hour. And moving into our western communities like Divine, Pearsall, probably about 9:15 in the next hour or so. So we'll take that off, that sweeping radar. This storm, you know, despite it having a severe warning attached to it from the Weather Service, it's not producing large hail. But with that being said, just outside of Crystal City, south of Batesville on the northern side of that thunderstorm, it is producing up to nickel-size hail. Now, for it to be considered severe, it needs to start generating quarter-size hail. Now, not much of that. There are two different updrafts, one closer to Big Wells and one closer to Highway 57 and southeast of La Pryor. That's where some of the storm activity and storm motion and updraft strength is producing some, you know, small to medium-size hail. But the legend is in the upper left-hand corner towards, you know, the purple colors. That's ping pong to golf ball size hail, but that is not being produced by this particular storm. And one reason why we're finding it hard to believe it turning, you know, very severe is because of the lack of daytime heat. Temperatures are starting to cool down. We're in the 80s right now. There's a lot of humidity in place, but with the lack of daytime heat, some of this will start to fall apart. However, the fact that it does have a pretty large core, you can see the updraft and even some of the hail south of Batesville. This could probably maintain its strength for at least the next couple hours as it moves towards I-37, southern San Antonio, and towards Divine, Pearsall. So immediate communities probably that are going to see some of this rain: Pearsall, I-35, Divine, probably Hondo. Sabinal, probably not, just because of that easterly track to it. But anywhere near the Texas 173, I-37 area intersection, flyover, that's kind of where we're expecting some of this rain to move in, probably by about 9:15. And then again, moving towards San Antonio, probably be around the 10:30 hour. And there is a warning attached to it. The Weather Service looked at it and said, hey, the hail core is probably near nickel to quarter size. Specifically, I mean, from what we're seeing at this last frame, it looks like that'll be most abundant south of Batesville, not so much in the cell they just tagged right here. Regardless, heavy rain moving into Frio and Zavala County, west of Pearsall. That's where it's heading probably through about 8:45. And again, this storm track is moving probably around 24 to 25 miles an hour, which would put it towards southern San Antonio, likely around 10:30 tonight. So we looked at hail. It is producing some nickel-sized hail just outside of Crystal City, west of I-35 and west of Dilley, and away from Pearsall. And let's see what kind of wind speeds they are producing as well. So we'll zoom in. This is velocity. Wind speeds aren't that great, and that's good news, right? I mean, strong gusty winds are a part of severe thunderstorms, but this particular cell, despite it being tagged a severe thunderstorm by the Weather Service, you can see some broad green and red colors starting to rotate together, but in terms of a tight couplet, it's not there. Let's see what the data is saying. So winds around 18 miles an hour here, 26 there. Outside of Crystal City, 15 miles per hour there, then towards Divine on that northern or eastern side of the cell, around 30 to 35 miles an hour. So as this particular cell moves towards Pearsall and Divine, probably about 9:15, it's gonna be a little breezy, at times a little gusty, around 30 to 40 mile an hour winds, an occasional gust from the outflow of this thunderstorm. But that's the latest on radar, and that particular warning isn't in effect until 8:45, and that includes Frio and Zavala County, mainly the western half of Zavala County. And yeah, some lightning associated with it as well. Let's see how tall it is in updraft strength. So you can actually do that with the volume slice. Let's see right there. So what I can do, I have to change the camera angle. And then properties, events, query. I have to go to, let me see. Bear with me as I try and change the camera angle. I know I can do it there. Let's go back. right there. Perfect, perfect. I mean, from what I can see, it's up to 30 to 40,000 feet, which is sufficient to at least produce some, small hail. But when we last looked at hail trackers, producing up to nickel-sized hail wasn't too large in diameter. Let's see if I can turn the camera angle. It's not helping me out. Let's see. Properties. It should be in properties. Events. No, I guess it's not letting me. Okay, so I'll just keep it on the two-dimensional radar. But anyway, so yeah, you can see that swath of rain stretching from southern Frio County even towards, let's say, south of Highway 90. So if you are heading down Highway 90 probably in the next hour, you'll run into some of this rain because watch as I put the motion on. This is the last 45 minutes. It kind of has that easterly, northeasterly track, which would put it somewhere in southern San Antonio around the 10 o'clock hour. So that's why we're watching it closely. At the moment, despite it having a severe storm warning attached to it, mainly just quarter to probably nickel-sized hail, and that's from our hail tracker, so radar can help detect that. You can see just outside of the western part of the thunderstorm, that's where it's producing some quarter-sized hail, but notice it's in a very rural area, isolated area, south of Batesville and south of Highway 57. And we looked at velocity, some gusty winds associated with this as well, maybe like 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts from the outflow of this thunderstorm, but nothing severe in terms of flooding. It's going to be a fast-moving system. Now, this forecast model has a pretty good handle on where the storm's at right now. That's good when initializing on these forecast models. It gives you a better idea of where it's going to move in the next couple hours. So right here, I'll stop it at about, let's say 9 p.m. or so. It's starting to enter San Antonio, southern San Antonio, around the 1604 loop. But depending on how fast it moves, that may change. I mean, from what I saw, it was moving at about 25 miles an hour. That's looking a little faster than what I'm thinking. But anyway, by about 9-10 p.m., moving into Seguin, southern Bexar County, Floresville, I-37. And this will be one of a couple cells that try to form in the overnights. And I would say after midnight, it's quiet. So again, the lack of daytime heat is really going to help fall apart these storms. I mean, you need a lot of heat for these storms to be long track thunderstorms. And unfortunately, with the help of nighttime cooling, it's just not going to happen. It'll happen for the next couple hours because we're off the heating of the day, but by about midnight, it's going to start to cool down pretty significantly, and that's going to help kind of drain the power from these storms. With that being said, by about 5, 6, 7 a.m. tomorrow morning, a front moves through San Antonio. That'll produce another chance for a few showers. We're not looking at anything severe along the boundary tomorrow morning, but it will produce an isolated shower, maybe an isolated storm tomorrow morning. And then the rest of tomorrow, highs will be in the 70s. It'll be breezy. The humidity will be down a lot. And then we'll see kind of a mixture of clouds and sunshine with highs again in the 70s. That's for tomorrow. But again, we're looking at that thunderstorm, that 1 to 2 pair out near Pearsall and down I-35 at this evening. This particular forecast model has it going pretty fast. By about 9 p.m., it starts to move into southern San Antonio. I think it'll be around 9:30, if not 10, just because of how far it is. It's initializing well, this forecast model, but it's farther west of I-35. It doesn't have the exact placement and location down just to the point. But anyway, some isolated storms will be possible through about 11 p.m. tonight. After midnight, it quiets down, and tomorrow morning, cold front moves through, generates one last chance for rain before Thursday. So tomorrow's forecast at about 70 lunchtime, 78 for a high temperature for tomorrow. Morning showers, mostly light activity early tomorrow morning, and then highs a lot cooler. We were at 87 today. Yesterday we were at 92. We'll be in the 70s tomorrow, so a lot cooler in the outlook for tomorrow for your Wednesday. And a northerly wind around 15 to 20 miles an hour. So the bigger story, that same front that moves through tomorrow morning generates that small chance at rain, stalls out in the Gulf tomorrow night into early Thursday. Why that's important? Well, it starts to back up and retreat as a warm front and stalls right around the Gulf. So it's going to move back and forth, in the next 48 hours. And wherever it really sets up between here, Corpus Christi, Galveston, Houston, near Copano Bay, near Matagorda Bay, wherever the surface low sets up, and more importantly, that frontal boundary, that's where a lot of the lift is going to be centered and wrapped around that low. And that's why if you look at the different color schemes on this graphic, mainly between Brownsville, South Padre Island, Corpus Christi, mainly along the coast into western Louisiana, is where a lot of the heavier, more flood-provoking rain is going to be between Thursday morning and Friday night. And you can kind of see that on forecast guidance. So that 1 to 2 isolated storms move in this evening through about midnight, just 1 or 2 isolated storms. And then tomorrow morning, a few showers as the front moves in. And then watch that front stall out in the Gulf by Thursday morning. This is pre-dawn. This is like 5, 6 a.m. And you can see between Laredo, Corpus Christi, and San Antonio, and even towards Houston, it's going to be a lot of rain along the coastal plains, right? And notice by Thursday morning and even Thursday evening, a lot of activity doesn't really move into the hill country. It's primarily going to stretch from the swath of rain that forms primarily between San Antonio and the coast and towards Houston and southeast Texas. That's where a lot of the rain will really develop along that surface low, along that frontal boundary. The farther north it is, the better chance for rain. The farther south it sinks, the lesser the rain coverage is going to be. But notice this is Thursday night, 10:30. More scattered showers, more storms to our south and east near the coast. Same thing as we move into Friday morning and Friday afternoon. On and off activity. It's not going to be all day, but on and off showers and on and off storms will be likely until about Saturday morning as it moves farther east. And it looks like by the end of Saturday and even into Sunday for Easter, which would be good news, we'll see a little bit of sunshine peeking through and a lot drier. So I'll rewind that back. You'll see between Thursday morning and Thursday night is the bulk of the rain. A lot of that storm activity will develop out near Corpus and advance farther north towards I-10 in Bexar County. And it's just rinse and repeat, right? It's just rounds of showers, rounds of storms Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, Friday morning, into Friday night before it clears out by Saturday. So it's good because, it'll be a 2-day event, but it won't be all day rain. It'll be on and off storms. But considering we're in drought, it's extreme to exceptional, that can definitely help put a dent in some of the drought that's out there. It's not so much east of San Antonio, but inside Bexar County and towards the hill country, it is exceptionally dry, which is in the worst kind of drought category. Now, as you saw on future radar, it's going to be a lot of storms for the southeast portion of our viewing area towards Corpus Christi, Port Aransas, Rockport, Galveston, Houston. If you're traveling anywhere near that area in the southeast Texas coast, between tomorrow night and Saturday morning, there's going to be a lot of rain moving through. Now, it says excessive rainfall outlook, but basically what this surmises is just the threat for a little bit of flash flooding. A lot of the areas towards the Texas coast are prone to flooding, right? I mean, if you've ever lived in Corpus Christi, it doesn't take much for the water to really start to advance. And I mean, I lived in Corpus Christi for a few years, and it took about 2 inches of rain for a lot of the spots around SPID, near Nueces County. I mean, a lot of that area, it's lower in elevation, so the more rain that falls, it increases the flooding threat. And when you're getting 2 to 3 to 4 inches of rain in less than 48 hours, that can cause a problem. So bottom line, big takeaway, San Antonio in a very marginal, low-end risk for excessive rain. We'll see about 1 to 2 inches of rain, which is perfect. But anywhere from Victoria to Corpus Christi to Houston and even western Louisiana near Lake Charles between Thursday and Friday, there is a slight chance for some flash flooding to occur along the Texas Gulf Coast. And this is the best way to look at it. So through tomorrow morning, even tonight and tomorrow morning, there will be some rain around. Some isolated storms move through San Antonio through about 10 and 11 p.m. Isolated activity. It's not going to be everywhere. It's not going to be widespread. But through tomorrow, 2 and 3 o'clock, more storms out to the south and east. And watch what happens as we move into Thursday morning, Thursday night, Friday morning. That swath of rain is going to be a lot. I mean, from Cotulla to, more importantly, Atascosa County, Beeville, George West, Gonzales. This particular high-resolution forecast model is going for up to 4 inches of rain for areas southeast of San Antonio. Right now for Bexar County, on the order of about 1 inch of rainfall through Friday morning, but obviously that may change if that line of storms advances a little bit farther north or stays to the south. Would mean everything. I mean, you can see Rock Springs forecast rain through Friday. It's only 1/100th of an inch. It's not a lot. For Kerrville through Friday morning, it's only 1/10 of an inch. But watch and look how fast the gradient, that contrast in rainfall, increases dramatically. I mean, you go from about 1 inch in San Antonio to about 4 to 5 towards Gonzales. That's not a lot of distance. So bottom line, we'll have to watch how these storms develop, where that front moves into Corpus Christi, the location of the front, where it sets up shop, and wherever that does will be the focal point for more rain. So this is just a forecast model, but some of that rain may even move south or may even move farther north into San Antonio. But this is just a look at what it may depict in the next 72 hours. Again, Thursday morning to Friday night, the better chance at some more widespread storms. Tonight, it'll be mostly isolated. Same thing for tomorrow morning, just a scattering of rain. But tonight, you may hear a rumble of thunder. And before we get to the 7-day forecast, I'll actually go back to radar and show you what we have. This is important because if you're traveling, if you're driving out tonight, this is a little important because we have this right here. One rogue thunderstorm that developed out near the Rio Grande, out near Eagle Pass, Del Rio, towards Maverick County, and the Rio Grande, northern Mexico. It developed out there, and now it's pushing farther east. With that being said, a lot of lightning associated with this cell. But notice how isolated it is in coverage, right? I'll zoom out. I mean, it's one rogue thunderstorm. It is pretty large, and you can see right here, that's where it is moving into. So it's near Highway 57. On the border of Frio County and Zavala County. This particular warning's until 8:45. And notice it's in a very rural area. So I would say if you have any friends or family, if you're planning on driving in this region near Highway 57, between Pearsall and La Pryor, that's where the storm's at, and that's where the lightning is most abundant, and this storm is actually moving farther east. So we'll actually put the clock on it. So notice where that storm motion is, right? So it's kind of drifting farther northeast at this point in time, meaning heads up for Pearsall, you'll probably be clipped by this cell. Probably just some good soaking rainfall around the 9 o'clock hour. And heads up for Devine, probably around 9:15, 9:30, it'll be moving into Devine. Probably about 9:15 or so in the next 30 minutes. It's a fast moving storm. We tracked it. It's moving at about 20 to 25 miles an hour in speed in storm motion. But again, in terms of hail, it is producing a hail core. Notice how isolated it is. I mean, it's outside of pretty much everyone with the exception of that Highway 57 corridor, outside of Batesville. If you're watching from Batesville, you're good to go. You're getting in some rain, but this particular hail core is moving away from you towards Highway 57 and towards Moore and towards north of Pearsall. But with that being said, it's a pretty large hail core, nickel to quarter size hail in a very rural part of Zavala and Frio County. So that's the hail core, and that's a very isolated area in the entire thunderstorm. It's pretty big for being a rogue isolated storm. Let's actually measure that out. It's about 29 to 30 miles in diameter, so it's a pretty large storm. And only a southern chunk of it is severe. You can see most of the central and northern part of the storm that stretches into that part of the county is mostly just rain. Let's take that off. Perfect. And that's south of Sabinal. But if you're watching from Sabinal or even Uvalde, you don't have to worry about this. This has that northeast motion. I'll put on the clock right there so you can see, even that's the last 45 minutes. I'll put in the last 2 hours and play it there. Perfect. So you can see it developed out just west of Crystal City and around Eagle Pass. Eagle Pass didn't see any rain. It was right outside the eastern area of Maverick County. But it's moving pretty quickly at about 25 miles an hour. That warning is in effect until 8:45 for Zavala and Frio County. Should push towards Devine, probably about 9 o'clock tonight in southern San Antonio. If it maintains its strength, probably around 9:30, if not around 10 o'clock. So we'll keep an eye on it. Right now, it looks like some good heavy rain, some lightning, and maybe some hail. And that last look at the hail core was pretty large in that rural part of Zavala and Frio County, south of Highway 57. So that's indicating quarter to maybe ping pong size hail. And for it to be considered severe, it's up to a quarter, if not larger. That's 1 inch in diameter. That's south of Highway 57. So that's the hail core on the hail tracker. But that's a very rural part of the county region. And with that being said, the entire storm is about 30 miles long in diameter, generating a lot of lightning and a lot of rainfall in this part of Frio and Zavala County. So as heading towards San Antonio, it does have that northeast movement. You can see towards Hondo may get a little bit of rain out of this, but I do think with the storm motion, the last 2 hours, kind of the mean flow and the upper level flow and wind speeds. And there we go. So we have another warning in effect until 9:30. So this storm will likely move into the I-35 corridor, into Divine, south of Hondo, and just south of the Highway 90 region as well. Southern Medina County will probably be impacted by this through about 9 and 9:30, and then slowly moving towards San Antonio around the 10:30 hour. And you can see, yeah, the Weather Service extended the warning. Well, there's two separate warnings. So there's one to the south of Highway 57, and there's another one, the larger warning that encompasses Moore, Divine. We have Bigfoot. Let's see. That's Pearsall. So Pearsall is not included in this warning, but we have south of Hondo. And, you know, depending on the exact track, the Weather Service may adjust this a little bit more. So just heads up for Hondo. Anywhere in southern Medina County, south of Castroville, probably going to be impacted by this cell by about 9:30, if not towards the 10 o'clock hour. So we'll watch it very closely. Forecast guidance does suggest it surviving a trip towards southern Bexar County by about 10 p.m. But the warning encompasses winds upwards of 40 to 60 miles an hour, so the outflow of these thunderstorms can produce strong straight line winds. From what we saw in the last 5 minutes, it's producing 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts. Not exactly severe, but that can pick up any tree branches or anything and definitely toss it through the air. So just heads up for anywhere in southern Medina County and northern Frio County, north of Pearsall. This is where the storm's heading. I'll put the arrows on it right too. Let me see. Should be crossing I-35 through about 9 p.m. and heading towards Divine 9 to 9:30, probably in the next hour, if not less than that. But that warning's in effect until 9:30, so we'll see. A lot of lightning, hail tracker on. It's producing a hail core up to about quarter to ping pong size hail in a very rural pocket south of Batesville and south of Highway 57, and winds are looking similar. Random occasional gusts near 30 to 40 miles an hour. So yeah, let me track that. So if it's going at about 25 miles an hour, and then I can probably, let's see, where's the squall lines? Let's do the storm cone. So the storm cone's right around here. Of course, this can change, but if it's moving at about, let's see. No, that's too slow. I think it'll probably move into southern San Antonio around 10:30. But you can't stretch it out that far without adjusting the storm speed. So let me erase that. We'll just have to do 25 miles. Yeah, so moving into northern Frio County, Freetown, and southern Medina County, probably around 9 to 9:15. Once it gets closer to Divine, we'll have a better handle on the storm, whether it's drifting farther south or if it's going to move right through downtown San Antonio. But main threats with the storm, just some lightning, heavy rainfall, maybe some isolated hail. If the hail core can last and survive a trip for another 25 to 50 miles, it would have to. And with the losing of daytime heat, the loss of daytime heat, it's going to be tough. But typically storms that develop out towards the southwest, they're breeding in a very hot environment. Towards Cotulla and Carrizo Springs, they reached the upper 90s today. So this storm has a lot of fuel. There's a lot of humidity in place. If it were to last, it'd probably start to die out around 11 o'clock. But before then, it should enter southern San Antonio around 9:45, if not around 10 o'clock tonight. But yeah, main threats, some lightning, heavy rain, localized heavy rain, some strong straight line winds, mainly on the order of about 30 to 40 miles an hour. I don't think we're going to look at strong straight line winds or any wind damage. It'll be mostly a pretty good, healthy downpour that moves into San Antonio and around the 10 o'clock hour, and then likely generating maybe some isolated hail. So we'll have to watch it very closely. Depending on how it moves into Divine, around the 9:30 hour, will tell us more. But we'll keep radar up for a little bit longer, but that's the latest. So if you're heading out, if you're driving out, probably around 9:30 or 10:30 tonight, heads up, there's probably some rain on the way. and Bexar County is large, so depending on if the storm drifts farther east or if it drifts farther north, it'll impact a particular part of town, but I don't think it'll encompass the entirety of San Antonio. But from what I can see right now, southern and southwestern San Antonio will get some rain first by about 10:15 tonight, and then it'll probably move up I-35 by about 10:30 to 11:30 tonight before it starts to really decay in strength with the loss of daytime heat. But we'll watch it very closely. We'll keep radar on for right now. Let's end up on the 7-day. So overnight, just a 30 to 40% coverage on some of those isolated storms. After midnight, a lot of them should start to decrease in coverage. Mostly quiet overnight until about 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. Cold front moves through, scattering of light rain. The rest of Wednesday looks fine, highs near 78. It's Thursday and Friday we have to keep a close eye on because heavy rain is going to develop out near the coast and then move farther north into San Antonio. It looks like numerous rounds of showers and storms likely Thursday and Friday. It'll be a 2-day event, and then Saturday it starts to taper off. You can see maybe a straight isolated shower on Saturday, but Easter Sunday looks a lot better, highs near 78 to 80 with some more sunshine and warmer temperatures on the way for Monday and Tuesday. So we'll leave it on radar because we're going to watch it for the next couple hours, but I'll leave the loop on. And we'll maintain the live stream on for the next couple hours just to keep a close eye on it. But right now, severe storm warning, including Frio County, Zavala County, and more importantly, southern Medina County. That does include Devine and areas near Moore. So heads up for Moore and Devine. That's where this cell is going towards and moving closer to, probably about 9:15 or so. It's a 25-mile-an-hour moving storm. So watch it very closely. And it'll probably drift towards Castroville and southwestern San Antonio around the 10 o'clock hour, depending on if it increases in speed or if it decreases in speed and if it starts to decay in strength. So we'll watch it very closely. Right now generating a lot of rain and storms and lightning west of Pearsall. But Pearsall, you should maybe get clipped on the northern end, but otherwise the bulk of this storm is heading towards Devine and the northern part of I-35 towards southern Medina County. So we'll leave the loop on. That's the latest warning on it from the Weather Service. That's until 9:30 tonight. Likely we'll get an additional warning that may encompass southwestern Bexar County, but we'll have to see if it maintains its strength. But right now, a little hail core, very rural, very isolated, producing up to quarter-size hail just west of Pearsall, pretty much along the Highway 57 region right there. You can see where it's kind of pink. That's where the updraft is tallest, up to 30 to 40 to 45,000 feet. And probably right here, just south of Highway 57, that's where the hail core is at. And before we just leave it to the stream, you can see right there, that's it. And as of what radar is telling me at 8:42 p.m. tonight, it's producing quarter to ping pong size hail. Should miss Pearsall, but should move towards Moore and Devine in the next half hour, if not around 9:15, 9:30. So heads up for anyone in Devine and Moore. Rain's moving your way, lightning's moving your way, and even some hail. So maybe bring in the car, put it in the garage, cover it if you can, because while the rain is probably the most widespread here, there will be an isolated pocket of hail that moves towards that area. Okay, we'll leave the loop on right there, and we'll get back to you guys in just a bit, but we'll keep watching this as it moves towards Devine and southern Medina County.